Alright, this is Mr. Red Fox with another video. First of all, Merry Christmas. This video should be uploaded Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas. And this video is essentially going to be me talking about the biggest losers in video gaming of the decade. This is from 2010 to 2009 to 2019. Okay, so let's get into it after the cut. Oh, and before I cut, this the reason this is important is because here's a disclaimer. This video is my opinions, but I will justify all my opinions before I move forward, because I don't want people to say, oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So with that being said, let's get to it after the cut. So, we're getting to the first loser of the decade, and the first loser is Nintendo. Now, before someone says, but Nintendo, look, okay, Nintendo came into the decade off of the Wii. The Wii was perhaps one of the most commercially successful consoles Nintendo ever made. Modern consoles. Low development costs, had a huge library of games, just very, low profit margin, a low cost margin to develop for, because it was an SD console, so they didn't have to spend a lot of money on development in terms of graphical assets. Then they went to the Wii U, which, I mean, personally, I think the Wii U was a great console, but I know a lot of people would disagree. But this is an opinion piece, so whether you disagree or agree, it doesn't matter. So basically, Wii U was a great console in my opinion. And then they go to the Switch. Now, commercially and critically, the Switch is a huge success, but the Switch has some problems that kind of make it that people don't want to talk about. First of all, the online is a step backwards from what they had on even the Wii and the Wii U and the 3DS, which, I mean, like, here's the thing: technology should be moving forward, not backwards, and yet the Switch moves backwards. The idea behind the Switch, it's a hybridized console that basically has aspects of a handheld and a home console, but it does neither as well. Okay, so basically, like it doesn't have the versatility of the 3DS, and it doesn't have the versatility of the 3DS, and it doesn't have the raw horsepower of the Wii U, or at least it doesn't utilize its horsepower as well as the Wii U did. So right off the bat, you have a system that's kind of just not really, not really that thing. And then you have the features that the Switch has, like the online is mediocre at best. It's worse than it was when it was free. Now here's the thing, okay, I know what some people are going to say, well, it's about on par to what it was when it was free. But here's the thing, okay, when something is free and trash, okay, it's kind of like if you're in a restaurant, okay, if someone gives you complimentary bread, right, complimentary means that you didn't have to pay for it, but here's the awesome thing. Complimentary isn't necessarily a bad thing, it just means that you didn't have to pay for it. It came with the meal. Now, complimentary bread could be mediocre, but it's free. I mean, you didn't have to pay for it. But once you have to pay for that bread, let's say they offer complimentary bread and a loaf of bread that you have to pay for, the bread that you're paying for better be better than what's complimentary. That's not the case with Nintendo's Online. It's worse than it was when it was free. So that's a step backwards. It seems in some cases that Nintendo isn't really trying like they used to with a lot of things, which bothers me a little bit, but it is what it is. But before you say, but Nintendo, look, listen, Nintendo, spoiler alert, is also on the biggest winners of the decade list, which will be uploaded shortly after this video. So let's get to the next loser after the cut. So the second loser of the decade in video gaming is EA. Now I know what some people are going to say, like, why is EA the biggest? Why are you putting EA on the loser list? EA is on the loser list because EA over this decade has gotten consistently shittier and shittier and shittier and shittier and shittier. The quality of their games has gotten more lackadaisical. Madden, FIFA, when they do a NBA Live game, it's trash. And they just consistently do trash. Like, you know, they aren't making good games anymore, which is kind of sad. I mean, I'm not happy about that. I don't want, you know, I would love to be able to play good games off of, from EA. But you know, that's just the soulless, greedy bastardization of EA. But the worst thing about EA, the thing that really makes me go, wow, this just did not work out well, is that EA has the balls, the temerity, the cojones, if you will, to basically has the gall to basically get a exclusivity license with Nintendo. I mean, not Nintendo, with Disney for the rights to Star Wars. And they managed to make what could be considered two of the shittiest Star Wars games we've ever seen. Like, I mean, you know, when I was a kid, I thought Yoda Stories was trash. The shit that EA has been making is worse than Yoda Stories. It's worse. It's because it's this soulless, bullshit-ass, trash, garbage game. Like, the first Star Wars Battlefront had less content than the original Battlefront games of the 6th gen. So, you know, clone Republic Trooper, which basically was based off the Clone Wars, the two Battlefront games that came out during the 6th gen, those games had more content than a game that came out now. And remember what I said, technology should be moving forward, not backwards. Games should have more content, not less content. Yet that's not the case for EA. And the worst thing, the biggest thing, is that the most successful Star Wars game that EA has made is a Star Wars game they had to be forced to make, which is Fallen Order. Like, you know, it's like someone saying, man, I take care of my kids. People forced you to take care of your kids, motherfucker. You know, I don't think that should count. So, I mean, the end result should count, but you acting all proud and like you did something big should not count because you didn't do anything to earn it. So with that being said, that's why EA is one of the biggest losers of the decade. So let's get to the next one after the cut. So, as the title placard says, the next biggest loser is Microsoft. Now, I know what some people are going to say. Why are you saying Microsoft is one of the biggest losers? Because Microsoft has had 3 console gens now, going into 4, to where basically they have been unable to make a console that has actually been successful. That's made money, that's been useful, that's done anything. And they've spent money out of their ass. Like, Microsoft has been like a rich dude who's been paying people to be their friend, and they still don't really have friends. That's basically what Microsoft's done. The original Xbox was considered a failure by Microsoft because it sold under 20 million units. The Xbox 360 was going to be profitable, but then they rushed it out to market to beat their competitors, and, you know, we had the Red Ring of Death thing, which just let us know why should we buy this. And then the Xbox One, which, I mean, has mostly, for most of its life, has been an abject failure. So, basically, the Xbox is kind of a shitty, you know, Microsoft has not really been doing that well with their consoles. You know, and I know what some people say, well, you know, it's doing well now. the Xbox started doing well when Microsoft pivoted away from leaning so heavily on the Xbox, which basically just tells you that they're going out of their way to move away from that thing. Which is kind of sad, but not really, because Xbox is kind of a shitty console anyway. So with that being said, Don Matrix summed it up best. The Xbox has just not been doing that well, and I feel kind of bad. Well, not really. I really don't give a shit. I've never bought an Xbox. I don't want an Xbox. I'm not impressed by the Xbox. I don't think Microsoft ever had the chops, the cojones, the talent to really be in the console industry. They have the money, but they don't have the skill. Because they're not a video game developer, and they don't make particularly impressive hardware. So it's like, it's like in the console industry, you have to make impressive hardware and have games to support that hardware. Microsoft makes shitty hardware, and the games that they have, most of which aren't exclusive. So it's like, well, what's the fucking point of owning your hardware? It's like, it's not there. So that's why they're the third biggest loser of the decade. So let's get to the next biggest loser after the cut. So the fourth biggest loser of the decade is Bethesda. The reason why I'm saying it's Bethesda is because Bethesda just can't seem to get their shit together. So what I mean by this is, look at the games Bethesda has put out. Now, I don't mean the games that they've published. I mean the games that Bethesda themselves have made. Okay, Skyrim. Vanilla Skyrim, the base version of Skyrim, even with all the DLC, is a steaming pile of shit. I would not buy that game. I would not play that game if you gave me money to buy it. I wouldn't play that game because it's trash. And that's just the way it is. Bethesda is one of the most overrated, trash-ass studios in the video game industry, and people don't seem to want to talk about how shitty Bethesda is. No one seems to want to talk about how these games are just fucking trash. How they can't seem to make games that aren't broken pieces of shit. And it's sad because, it's like, typically speaking, a good game developer, their games get more polished over time. Bethesda's games, a lot of them are having the same fucking issues that they had when they started using this engine three console gens ago. Well, 2.5, okay? And that's not cool to me. Like, you shouldn't be consistently repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. That does not scream to me quality. And yet, gamers just keep on going with it. And they went from Skyrim to Fallout 4, which is trash, okay? Fallout 4 is trash. Even the re-release of Skyrim that's based on the Fallout 4 engine is fucking trash. And, the hat on top of this shit sundae, the cherry on top of this shit sundae, is Fallout 76, which is just, I keep on seeing people say, man, this game is terrible. Have you played a Bethesda game before? You're like someone saying, man, I'm having my teeth pulled with no no deadening, no drugs, and it's painful. No shit, motherfucker. That's basically how it feels with Bethesda. So we'll get to the biggest loser of the decade after the cut. The number one biggest loser. So you kind of saw where this was going if you follow my channel or saw the line of logic I was basically going with. The number one biggest loser of the decade is the gamers themselves. And I know what some people are going to say. Well, what do you mean? Here's what I mean by the biggest loser, why they're the biggest loser. Because I don't want people to say you're just saying that because it's an easy attack. Okay? Gamers have enabled these developers, these publishers, these game services to screw them over repeatedly. And then when they get fucked over, they're like, man, why'd they do that? Because you let them do it. Alright? I mean, you know, like the first time you get fucked over by Bethesda, okay, it's understandable. The second time, the third time, the fourth time, you know, I recently saw a video where a dude was banned from Fallout 76, who was basically going around bug testing for these motherfuckers. First of all, why are you bug testing for Bethesda? This multi-billion-dollar company on the East Coast in Maryland. Why? Second of all, don't you know, like, here's the thing, okay, you don't bug test for a company unless they're paying you to bug test for them. It's like, well, I just want to make a good experience. That's not your job. It's their job to make a good experience. It's their job. Look, you gave them your $60 or whatever. It's their job to make sure that it's a good experience. That's how this shit works, okay? That's the equivalent of someone coming to my business and saying, okay, you know, the drink, so here's the drink. Oh, wait, no, your ass is going to have to pay for this. Or no, it's like someone coming in and basically saying, I want a $5 rum and coke. It's like, okay, well, give me the $5. Okay, now bring your ass behind this bar and make it yourself. That's not what you're paying for. You're paying for them to make a product that is competently made. And why should you have to do that? And gamers have consistently made excuses for these companies' bad fucking behavior. And then act surprised when they keep on doing it because you let them get away with it. You are the biggest loser of the decade. Hopefully, you'll learn to be better. With that being said, let's get to the conclusion after the cut. So, here's the conclusion. The conclusion is this. You know, gamers are the biggest losers of the decade because they enable these companies to fuck them over repeatedly. They make excuses for their bad behavior because they like the games, because they like the service, because they like whatever. And this is not helpful. This is not helping anybody. And gamers just consistently just keep on fucking shit up for everybody involved. You know, they support the systems that fuck them over, and they let the systems that don't fuck them over just let them go. You know, it's a very skewed and strange dichotomy. And frankly speaking, if it continues, then gaming is going to continue to stagnate, and in some cases just become worse. And it's not cool because I like this hobby, I want it to do well, but if gamers are just going to keep on letting people fuck them over, then what's the point? So with that being said, that's the end of this video. I wanted to get the biggest losers of the gaming industry out the way first. I'll be getting to the winners with the next video, with the follow-up of this. Spoiler alert, one of the biggest losers is also the biggest winner. So with that being said, let's get to it after the cut. Or, well, not after the cut, but in the next video. So, peace.